Hi, Martin.
Hi, Ash. How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. Great to be here with you.
Thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate it. And today I wanted to do something different. We usually go through some introductions with our guests and then potentially go forward with the ice breaking exercise. But I thought because of your expertise in the life experience, right? I thought maybe we'll go into a different direction today and make it more casual. So would you like to or what should I say? Okay, let's ask why our listeners should listen to you, Martin.
It's a great question. I like the way you put that, Ash. So I'm known as I'm known as the architect of the Warriors Life Code, and coaches and entrepreneurs hire me to bring chaos, bring order from chaos.
Mhm.
How about if I bring them some chaos? So instead, they hire me to bring order from chaos and empower them to embrace their leadership role as visionaries in their field and to stop being the bottleneck that says success. You know why? Because they're tired of the stress from wearing all the hats, constantly putting out fires, and dealing with inconsistent cash flow. So I help
Mm.
them develop a scalable high ticket program, enroll new clients with ease, and grow exponentially. Bottom line, I help them build a seven-figure business within 2 years or less, guaranteed.
Seven-figure business within 2 years. Wow, that's like that's like thinking, okay, I want to make 10 million. Let's have written it down on the white paper and then like go reverse, like reverse engineer, like to
Right.
to to go to the place, right? Great. So Martin, you talk about shifting from worry and lack of abundance, right? Take us through your journey because I've heard that you have gone through some very spiky ups and down in your life itself.
Very spiky ups and
Yeah.
downs, Ash.
And you came out of it with a grace. So talk to us about that journey first, and then let's move towards the life code.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, um, let me just go back not too far ago. How about we go back to 2008?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in 2008, my wife and I were working on a project for about 4 or 5 years to build a multi-million dollar health club and tennis center in New Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And it took us 4 or 5 years because we were going through the process of finding the land, doing a feasibility study, making sure that it was feasible to do it, and all these other things along the way. Then, of course, getting the architect involved and the engineer and going to the town and the city and saying, okay, we're interested in doing this. What do we need to do? And then coming back, well, you need this, you need that, all the different things to make sure that we were compliant and
Mm-hmm.
that the city would give us the approvals. And every time we'd go back, they'd say, well, we need some more stuff and more things. And we'd go to the bank and they're like, we love this project. We
Mm-hmm.
can't wait for you to get approved and we'll fund it. Well, fantastic. So we're going back and we're getting the engineers deeper involved. And they come and the bank says, not the bank, I'm sorry, the city says, okay, now we need you to do civil engineering.
Mm-hmm.
What's civil engineering? Oh, make sure that the parking is done correctly. You have enough
Mm.
parking. What's the impact on the traffic and all that? Okay, great. Another year to get through that. Now it's the summer of 2008, and the bank says, great. I mean, again, not the bank, the city says, great. You've given us everything we need. We're signing off. You can go build.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, fantastic. We
Yeah.
go to the bank. Okay, bank, for the last 3 years, you kept on telling us we can't wait. Okay, we got the approvals. I'm 3 million in here, through over $3 million of my money, my family's money, my investors' money.
Mm-hmm.
We're ready to go. They go, well, we're not lending right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? You kept telling me you can't wait for this project to happen.
Yeah.
Well, things have changed. Things are not like they were before.
Mm.
We're not. I'm like, well, a month later, the financial world falls apart. Bernie Madoff, the subprime loans, and just like that, the financial world is like we haven't seen in who knows how long.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it fell apart like a house of cards. And unfortunately, I was the card on the bottom, and I wasn't the joker. And just like that, I lost everything. It's easy for me to laugh now, but back then, to tell you, I was not laughing. I was
I
not
can
thought it
imagine.
was very funny, but
Yeah.
it was a tough time. And just like that, I lost everything. $3.5 million of money I put in, my family, the investors, and I had no money. I wasn't paying my mortgage. I wasn't paying my car payments. And a few months later, my son says, "Dad, look outside. They were towing away my BMW."
Mm.
And I got repossessed. That's how bad it was. Eventually, the house was foreclosed on. But being that we were in New Jersey and there were so many foreclosures, it took them years until they finally actually closed on the house. But
Wow.
still, they did foreclose. So it was a tough time. It was a very tough time in my life. And here I am now. So I went into a depression for about a year. Okay. And it's understandable. I was going through some terrible times. And looking back now, I realize it was a situational depression because
Mm.
of the situation I was in. So about a year later, I've gone through some therapy, some coaching, and I'm ready to move forward in my life. I'm thinking, what do I want to do? Well, I've been a businessman my entire life. An entrepreneur is what they call us now, you know?
Yep.
And I was like, maybe I should do something different. And I thought about my life and what are the things I love doing. And one of them was I loved helping people. I was always involved in community events. I was always a leader.
Mm.
I was always like the president of the synagogue or whatever. I actually founded the first synagogue in Eatontown, New Jersey,
Wow, that's
which,
nice.
yeah, which now has over 500 families involved, and they're expanding. It's beautiful. Like you went to the groundbreaking last year for it, but beautiful stuff. And people would come in and say, "But Martin, I can't do what you're doing." I'm like, "But I don't want you to do what I'm doing. I
Mm.
need you to do what you're good at." And I don't know what I'm good at. And I would start talking to them about it, and we would figure out what they were good at. And I realized what I was doing was I was coaching them.
Mm.
So I decided to go out and get my coach and become a coach, a life coach, life and business coach.
Hmm.
So that's what I did. And that's what I've been doing for the last 10, 12 years, something like that, maybe more.
Wow. 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 That's really cool. And thanks for being so open and to so because when you when you be genuine, when you expose yourself to the world, that tells you don't just have courage, but you also have this openness to accept the bad timings, the defeat, or whatever you want to call it in your life, but also how you get out of it, right?
Right.
As you mentioned that when you were going through that journey, you learn quite a lot of
Mm-hmm.
things to get out of this
Yep.
blunder. Many entrepreneurs become their own bottleneck, right? How do you help them get out of their own way? Because you see, the story you mentioned just now is you being maybe trusting the bankers, maybe trusting the civil engineering work, maybe trusting the councils because they were all believing in your project. But
Right.
one way or another, they were kind of lying to you or not lying to you. It's all circumstantial, right? Because it's not their fault. It's maybe someone else sitting
Yeah,
somewhere.
I don't think they were lying to me. I think at the
Yeah,
time they believed that that was the story. Then, of course, they get a directive from the bosses. Okay, no lending.
no
You
lending
know,
anymore.
no lending. Like what am I going to do? You lied to me. Give me my money. So yeah, I mean, I'd like to think that that was, but it really wasn't like that. It was
Hmm.
just the timing. But also the other part of it is that I had put, as many entrepreneurs do, they gamble.
Hmm.
You'd like to think that you do, you know, uh, educated gambling, educated guesses, making, you know, uh, uh, decisions based on the facts that you have in front of you at the time,
Hmm.
and hope that that's going to be enough to get you where you need to go. You never know when things are going to change, right? So I took a shot, I gambled, and I lost. I lost big time.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So to go back to your question, um, I think what has to happen is as you're going along, what I learned from this is that I need to make sure that I'm always checking the boxes. I'm
Mm.
always going back and making sure that the team around me is on the same page, that I know what's going on around, so that no surprises come up. If things are slowing down in the world, why? What's happening? How can I protect myself from having the same thing happen again? And a
Mm.
lot of that has to do with having the right mindset, but also the right tools in front of you.
Right, right. So, right mindset is something which is very, very important, and I have heard this from several other people. Um, what's the what? I'm thinking that a lot of leaders make a lot of mistake when they're scaling, right? And what's the biggest mistake, in your opinion, entrepreneurs make when they're scaling their business?
Right. Oh, such a great question. So, what happened for me was I realized that, and now I look back and I realize that a good business, as the leader of a good business, it has to have like a three-legged stool. The first leg of the stool is having the right systems in place.
Mm.
Okay. The nuts and bolts, the things, how they're going to happen, your SOP, which stands for standard operating procedures. What
Yeah.
happens in this? And as things come up that you hadn't happened in the past, how do you deal with it? How do you move forward and all that? So that becomes all part of your playbook in your business, right? On a nuts and bolts systems side.
Mm-hmm.
The second leg of this three-legged stool for an entrepreneur's mindset is their mindset,
Mm.
right? They have to have a mindset that they believe in themselves and they believe in their product or service. Because no matter how much you believe in me and how much you believe in the product or service that I'm sharing with you, it only takes you so far. If you don't believe in yourself and in your product or service, then it doesn't matter. So you've got to work on understanding to not self-sabotage, not get in your own way, not think, oh, wait a minute, I'm not charging enough. Maybe I should charge less because this way I get more people. All those crazy things that start going on in your head, right? So that's the second one. So having coaches in your life, okay, or people around you who can who can help you when you're starting to question yourself, because we all do. As much as
Mm.
we'd like to don't think we don't, but we all do question ourselves. It's great to have somebody in there to help you. And it's great for you to know that somebody's there to be objective, to be supportive and not judgmental, but also tell you like it is. Right. So that's another part, getting the right mindset, being around the right kind of people. And then the third leg is exactly what you're talking about, is that if you're not ready for the success, if you're not ready for the success when it happens, by being scalable. And scalable is understanding that you can't do it all. As I said when I was talking earlier, you know, they're you become the bottleneck of your own success because you're trying to wear all the hats, always putting out the fires, always dealing with inconsistent cash flow. But if
Mm.
you set up a system of people around you, okay, they don't have to work for you directly, but maybe you have them as VAs or you have them as outside contractors. As a matter of fact, one of my partners in my business is my fractional COO. She doesn't work directly for me.
Mm-hmm.
She's fractional, meaning she's not there all the time,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And there was a great book that took what I'm thinking about that I've been doing for the last 10, 20 years and crystallized it. And it's by a coach, a business executive coach named Dan Sullivan. It's
Mm.
called Who Not How. When you wake up in the morning, and this is me encapsulating what he's saying, and you say, how am I going to get this done? How am I going to get that done? Oh, I need to come up with a funnel today and the sales, a squeeze page and a landing page and all these things. You're asking the wrong question. When you say, how am I going to do it? You're putting that information on yourself and saying, I'm going to get it done.
Mm.
And you're staying outside of whatever your zone of genius is. The question you should be asking is, Who can I get to do this for me?
Mm.
Right? That's the scalability. Right? Imagine if you spend 5 hours doing that and your time, let's just throw a number up, is $200 an hour.
Mm.
And now you're working on all these things that you shouldn't be working on, and you're not doing the things to make your business productive for yourself, being the coach, being whatever it is that you're great at.
Mm.
You've just wasted 5 hours doing something
Which
at
you're not great
$200 an
at.
hour. That's $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now imagine if you go out and find somebody who can do what you want done faster,
Mm.
easier, and better than you,
Mm.
right? And you
Mm.
pay them, and they do it for an hour or two. You pay them $50 or $100. You've saved $800. But more importantly, you're doing what you're great at. You're staying in your zone of genius, your lane of genius, and you're finding other people around you. So there's a gentleman who many people know, Robert Kiyosaki,
Yep.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Rich dad, poor dad.
I heard him say one time in a small group of people, I want to be the dumbest person in my business.
Mm.
He wants to surround himself with people who are smarter in accounting, in sales, in marketing, in whatever.
Mm.
Right. And then they come and they talk to him and they tell him, well, this is what we're working on, so on and so forth. I say the people that know how work for and with the people that know why.
Yeah. That's really a golden nugget here, that if you understand your why, then you're way ahead of 99% people around you, because they're always looking at how.
Right, right. Instead of, if I sell somebody on my program on how I'm going to get them there, I'm not asking them the right questions.
Mm.
Why do they want to get there? Once I understand the why, then we can figure out later, once they get into the program, the how.
Mm.
And I say this very often, and people are like, what? Sell them what they want and then give them what they need.
Mm.
Right? People say, I need to lose 50 pounds. Right? But I don't want to. Well, what do you want? Oh, I want to look good in a suit. Oh, I want to do this. I want to. Okay, great. Well, how are we going to get you to look good in a suit? By losing 50 pounds. Well, so we start by saying, oh, you want to look good today. You want to feel healthy. You want to. That's the selling part, giving them what they want. And then once they're in, I go, okay, how are we going to get there? And we set up a way for you to get there. If you say, oh, I'm going to get you here. Okay, but I don't know what that's not what I need. That's not what I want. No, we know so what is it? So that's what you have to work on.
Yeah. And being a founder myself, and we always host these events in Central London where people come, mostly founders and investors, where they have these pitches going on, right? Elevator pitch, and then there's seed round pitches and everything. What I've personally experienced is founders have this kind of the thing called burnout. I don't know if you ever faced it yourself. I'm sure you have. If someone is feeling overwhelmed right now, someone is feeling burned out with the work, and I'm sure a lot of founders who are listening to us do feel that way, what's one immediate action they can take to sort of like, what's the right word, to regain the control of their life?
Right. It's so important. So, I don't want to say everybody, but pretty much everybody at some point feels this moment of burnout. And what I think they have to do at that moment is ask them that same question. Why? Why am I feeling burnout? And then take it to another level. Take the word why and turn it into an acronym. What's hurting you?
Mm,
Right?
what's hurting you? Yeah.
WHY. What's hurting you? Why are you feeling the burnout? What's making you feel that burnout? Get deep into it. Ask the hard questions so that when that happens, you can set yourself up for success.
Mm.
For example, I was somebody, and I learned this going through coaching and through a divorce. Okay. I didn't tell you that part of the story. after this happened with my wife and I building this business, about a year later, after I decided to become a coach, about 2 months before coach training started, on our 24th wedding anniversary, she asked for a divorce
Oh my God.
on the anniversary day.
Do you have kids?
We have 4 children and
Okay.
8 grandchildren.
Okay.
We were married for 25 years at the end of the day after the divorce was finalized. Okay. So, you got to get through these things and you got to understand. And for me, I needed to understand what was hurting me so that I can move forward.
Mm.
And that asked a very simple question, which I did at the time. And now I'll never say it again. Why is everything happening to me?
Mm.
Really, that's not the right question. If you say, why is everything happening to me? You're looking to blame everybody else for what's going on. Now I say everything happens through me. So when something's happening, I have to learn how to control my emotions, because that was a big part of what happened. I learned going through my divorce that I had a very short temper. I always knew I did, but I said, okay, this is who I am.
Mm.
That was a cop out, right? So I developed that I had to learn to understand what are my emotions and what are my feelings. There's a difference,
Mm.
right? Emotions is that immediate thing. I'm angry.
Yeah.
Well, what kind of anger are you? Are you enraged, or are you just a little ticked off? And then use that when you start to go through that and understand the depth of it. Then you can ask your question, well, why am I feeling this? What? Okay, I'm angry. What kind of anger? Why am I feeling this? And then what can I do to get out of it? When you allow yourself that moment to go through there, number one, it calms you down.
Mm.
But number two, it gives you the opportunity to analyze within yourself how to get through it.
Mm. And you mentioned that there are three things. I think I missed one of them. Emotions, feelings, and there was one more thing, right? Or was it
Oh,
just
question
two?
yourself.
Question yourself, right?
Question
Okay.
yourself. So this is my emotion. My emotion is
Mm.
anger. What kind of emotion? That's the feeling.
Mm.
Question yourself, why am I feeling this? Right? And then take action to change it. That's number 4.
And that's what I was thinking to ask you. Like, how do they take? So what? How can someone reprogram their mind
Yeah, yeah. So it
to
doesn't
to
happen overnight.
yeah to like stop, you know, playing small and embrace their potential level? What's the secret sauce behind it?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. So, let's talk. We're in the emotional stage right now. Okay. We're
Yeah.
talking about that. So I'll give you a perfect example of myself. Okay. It used to be while I was going through my divorce, my wife would call me up and say, I don't want to fight, but now in my head, I heard, here comes a fight.
Mm.
I heard there's a thing here. They used to say, let's get ready to rumble. Like when two wrestlers or two boxers were going to get into the ring,
Yeah.
let's get ready to fight. So I heard that. I was like, ding, ding, ding. Okay, the fight's going to start. And my defenses would go up and I would start yelling before she even really told me what was going on.
Mm.
And then she would say, but I told you I didn't want to fight. So this was as I was starting to go through coach training and my divorce. So I started to understand that it was me, that I was allowing her to push my buttons by saying, I don't want to fight, but now maybe she was really trying to push my buttons. I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say, no, she was telling me I don't want to fight. But
Mm.
I heard fight and I immediately went there. So in the beginning, what I would do is I would hang up on her. And she'd call back. She'd go, what the hell did you just do? I said, well, you said you didn't want to fight, so I hung up.
Mm.
Then I had to find the middle ground. So once I started to understand this concept that we were talking about, the emotions and the feelings, I started to take it. And then something happened one day. My son was getting married.
Mm.
Okay. And usually there's a tradition in the Jewish community that I'm from, that the Saturday before The wedding, that doesn't happen all the time. Once in a while, the son, you make it, the parents might make a lunch for the son
Mm.
and the future daughter-in-law,
Yep.
right? So, I was living in New York at the time. She was still living in New Jersey. So I just assumed we weren't doing it. And my son happened to be living with me in New York during the week and then go visit his mother and so on and so forth. So he comes home from the weekend before the wedding and he says, Dad, I'm so embarrassed. I said, what happened? He goes, Mom made a lunch and you weren't there.
Mm.
I'm so sorry. I said, it's not your fault, son. It's not, you didn't do it. Now, the old me would have picked up the phone right there and went crazy on my ex-wife. And would you have blamed me if I did?
I don't know.
Yeah, would you? You would have said, well, of course you're going to do that. You just found out you were disrespected. So, but I thought about it. I'm like, what? It's Sunday. The wedding is Wednesday. If I do this now, my son's going to be upset. His fiance, his future bride's going to be upset. My ex-wife's going to be upset. Everybody's going to be upset. And they go, there he goes. There goes Martin again. And what did I do? I was able for that 1 minute to feel good. I said, you know what? I'm going to change the script.
Hmm.
And I waited until after the wedding. Wedding came. We all had a beautiful time. I put my feelings and my emotions aside. But I went and I said, what am I feeling? What is my emotion? I'm angry. What level? I'm really enraged. I'm at the top of the level. Why do I feel this? Because she did this and this happened and people looked and I wasn't there. And I said, now the last thing is I'm going to do something about it. And I decided, and I reached out to a family member of mine and a coach of mine. And I said, this is what happened. And this is what I think I want to, and work through it. And then the wedding was Wednesday. And on Friday, I called her up. I said, I just want you to know, this is what you did. You disrespected me. You disrespected your children. You told your children it's okay for me to be disrespected and all this other things. And whether she heard it or not didn't matter. I didn't care. So I gave a controlled anger. And at the end of the conversation, I said, thank you for divorcing me.
Oh my God, you're making me laugh, Martin. Yeah, but that's yeah, because I think men tend to focus on functional, rational arguments, and nothing against women, but they're more emotional. That's what my understanding is, and nobody can understand
Yeah, men are from Mars,
men.
women are from Venus.
Yeah, and what you did there was give that you know angel soul a lot of food for thought. That's
Right.
what I
And it
can.
didn't matter whether she did anything about it or not.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't ruin the wedding, right? And I got my point across. Whether she
Mm,
heard it or not, I didn't care. I got to take it off my chest in a controlled anger. People think life coaches and business coaches is to teach people how not to be angry.
mm.
No, you're going to get angry in your life. You're going to be sad. There's going to be all these emotions. It's how you deal with those emotions. The problem was I was always allowing my emotions to control me.
Mm.
And now I control my emotions.
Nice. So this is how actually the reprogramming work, because you need to
Yeah.
control, you need to channelize your uh, force, your energy into a direction where it gets you the best results, best output, right? That's
Right.
really really cool. So let's take a step back then. Let's say if Ash comes to you, right? Ash runs a couple of businesses. Ash wants to understand, like, Ash is feeling burnout, overwhelmed with the workload and everything. And obviously they want the team want him to perform well. So he reached out to you and say, okay, this is my businesses, this is what I'm making. What is the step-by-step process you will take Ash through to gain the control back?
Well, first thing is I have to decide if I want to work with Ash.
Yeah.
Okay. And if Ash wants to work with me.
Mm-hmm.
So we go through a what I like to call a strategy session
Mm-hmm.
to get to understand each other.
Yep.
And is Ash willing to put in the work to make the differences, or am I going to be talking to myself?
Mm.
How's this for being totally straight honest with you, Ash?
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of it, if we both see that it's a good match, then we move forward.
Mm-hmm.
And we start by building a roadmap of where you are now and where you want to be in 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I actually even do it backwards in the beginning.
Mm.
In the strategy call, we talk about where do you see yourself in 2 years from now? What do your numbers look like in two
Mm.
years from now? What do you do look like? What are everything? What is your business? Blah, blah, blah. And then once we do that, do a little dream building there, and then go, okay, so now where are you now?
Mm.
Right? And then we said, so now we decided we're going to work together. So let's take what we talked about on the strategy session and now make a roadmap. Okay, so that's step one.
Yep.
What does the roadmap look like? And what are you willing to do to get there?
Actions.
Right? What actions?
Mm.
Then we say, okay, let's build a blueprint.
Mm.
Let's have an impact statement. If somebody asks you, what do you do? This is what I do. Boom, 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 boom. In 30 seconds, like I did at the beginning of our call. Right?
Yeah.
And then what are the outcomes that your clients are going to get by working with you?
Mm.
Right? Because the blueprint means nothing if you don't have an outcome.
The value. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And then you want to over deliver, under promise and over deliver.
Mm.
Right? Okay, I'm going to get you to $1 million in 2 years. How would you feel if I got you there in a year?
Yeah.
Okay, but I say 2 years because you don't know what's going to come up in the meantime.
Mm.
And then we go through everything. We figure it out. Okay, let's go out and validate your program.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Well, we show you how to make, Zoom calls or phone calls to ask people questions about what you're doing
Yep.
and get their feedback without spending any money.
Mm.
And then you go from there. And then what I do is I guarantee it because I say the way we do things is I want to coach. If you had a choice, would you rather be coached on knowledge or on results?
Result sounds interesting.
Results sounds interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Well, in the beginning, you need some knowledge, right?
Yes. It,
So you
and
get the basis of it. So I coach in the beginning on knowledge, and then I say, you don't pay me again. You only pay me maybe 12.5% of my entire fee upfront. Then
mm.
you don't pay me again until you hit certain success milestones that we set up.
Mm.
Okay, when you're making this much money, then you pay me this much.
Mm.
2-to-1, 5-to-1, 10-to-1 return on your investment.
Yeah.
And you don't pay me until you get there. It's not like, okay, it's April 1st, pay me this. It's May 1st. No. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do for you to be successful. So until you're successful, you don't pay me again. So you
Mm.
pay me on results, not just on knowledge.
Got it. Got it. Great stuff. And this is very interesting to learn because a lot of coaches and mentors, they, take in it advance quite a lot of chunk of money to prove that the value, because the rationale behind it is, okay, if you provide a service for free, people don't turn up, which I have felt myself,
Yeah.
that people
Yeah.
take you
Yeah.
seriously when they put something on the line, right?
Right. Right. Right.
And this is what they do. But I really like the fact that you don't actually try to get stuff out of your customers until they get value delivered, right?
Absolutely. Well, there is a little bit, not 12.5%.
Mm.
Something to get started.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah,
That's the foundation. But then again, not until you started to make money.
yeah, yeah,
Because how much would you want? How much would you then become a raving fan of mine if I got you across the different finish lines along the way?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Right. So
Cool.
it's a partnership.
It's a partnership indeed, and that's what people are looking at, especially people who are into business, right? They value partnership a lot.
Right. So I call this a risk reversal strategy. I
Hmm.
put the risk on me just as
Yeah.
much as more than on you.
Yeah. Cool. So we have the second segment in our episode where I try to share with my guest about what we have discussed till now, and then potentially list down if there is anything which we have missed. So
Wow.
we,
That looks
yeah,
great there.
so this is what we've discussed. So you started your journey back in 2008, where you wanted to build a health club with your wife, and you went through quite a lot of ups and downs there. You had to tackle with planning, you had to tackle with civil, you had to, look around for financial aid. But even though you put quite a lot of on the verge and took a risk, the ultimately the timing wasn't great, and that gave you a lot of frustration. But that caused quite a lot of changes in your personal life, where you had to lose control of your house, your car. It got repossessed, and that's like a very low point in your life.
Yeah.
But you didn't give up. You actually chose a different direction. You wanted to get your life in control. Then we discussed about how does it feels for other people also who's going through the similar kind of mindset, you know drawing into the overwhelmness and burnout. And you explain to your listeners that you have to focus on the why, not how. What's hurting you? And that includes your emotions, your feelings, and the way you question yourself, because that actually gives you the real value, not how you achieve or do things. You mentioned around right mindset, right tooling, and right mentors to achieve the results. And some important bits around that is some SOPs you have to work around to get all of your system in right place. Again, mindset and scalability.
Right.
If somebody reached out to you for some help, you take them through a step by step process where you have a strategy session, which is your step one. Step two is building a roadmap. Then step three is understanding what actions based on the roadmap the individual have to take. Step four is the blueprint designing of to achieve the end results what they're seeking. And
Mhm.
the last one is value addition and validation of all these steps.
Right.
Is there anything else we missed, or I have not referred it correctly?
Well, you did a fantastic, fantastic job. The only area I would add to is in the what's hurting you, where we talked about emotions, feelings, and questioning yourself, is then taking action to correct that emotion, to
Mm,
address that emotion,
got it. Taking action to correct that emotion.
to address it
Yeah.
more than to say than to correct, to address it.
Yeah.
As I did when I called my ex-wife.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, that's fantastic, Ash. You did a wonderful job here.
Thank you so much. This is going on the newsletter when I'm going to share the episode, so
Beautiful.
everybody will receive this. So it's very handy. It's all the knowledge which you have shared is like
Yeah,
in the picture. Like picture speaks 1,000 word kind of concept.
100%.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So this is where it is. The second section is finished. So the third section on our episode is where I ask my guests some cool six quick fire round questions,
Go for
and
it.
you don't have to answer all of them. If you feel that some of them is not relevant, you can say skip, and then we will skip it.
All right.
But
Let's have some fun.
let's have some fun, right? Okay, great. Right. Question number one: what are the top three strategies in 2025 to keep yourself in control to achieve the best results?
Okay, love it. First one is wake up every morning and write down three things you're grateful for. Every morning, write three things you're grateful for. And it could be as simple as I'm so grateful that it's not raining today.
Mm.
I'm so grateful that it's raining today. Whatever it is, I'm so grateful to have my cup of coffee, whatever it is. That's step one. Because if you do this every single day and not just on a piece of paper, I'll give you an example. Take out a nice quality book like this, a moleskin book like this that has value, and write in it 3 things you're grateful for. And you could even do it at night if you'd like, 3 things you're grateful for. So that, what does that do? That helps for you to start eliminating the complaining and replacing it with appreciation. Right? Then set yourself up for positivity throughout the day. For me, I took the word life and I turned it into an acronym. In the beginning, I said, I'm known as the architect of the Warrior's Life Code. Life for me stands for live incredibly full every day. That means having a life of happiness and a life of meaning, purpose. Happiness is self-love, self-care, even selfish. Meaning is purpose. What are you doing for your family, for your friends, for your neighbors, for the community, for the world? Well, I'm a coach. I help people that way. Okay? Meaningful. I help in my community, blah, blah, whatever it is. So that's the next step. Set yourself up for positivity and opportunity. When you start those 2 things, you will start to eliminate the problems that come up in your life because you're appreciating things and you're setting yourself up for opportunity. Indeed. And then the third thing is be willing to change as you go. Be flexible.
Flexible. Great. What book would you recommend to our listeners and why?
Other than my own?
No, mention that too. Don't worry.
Okay, well, I'll mention my book real quick. It's called Warrior to Warrior. Okay? And this is about my journey, and some of the things we've talked about today are in there. But a book that I would recommend is The 4 Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. You know this book?
I've heard about this, yes.
This was a game changer for me. I'll tell you why. When I started the coach training program process, I was really down. I was getting divorced. I lost all my money, and I didn't know where I was going to go. But I was open-minded, and they sent me a list of books to read before the course started. They said, pick a couple of these books and read it. And one of them was this book. And the second agreement is don't take anything personally. So I was like, whoa, this is what I've been doing my whole life. I take everything personally. It was as if he told me a secret that my people have been telling me my whole life. But until that moment, I wasn't ready to hear it. So for me, The 4 Agreements would be a book.
Awesome. What's one attribute or characteristic in your mind of a successful founder?
One, I would have to say, be a leader, not a boss.
Be a leader, not a boss. Got it.
Right? A leader is somebody who lets everybody in. A boss is somebody that says, go do this. I don't care what you have to do.
Indeed, indeed. What's your favorite personal productivity tool or habit?
For myself?
Yeah.
You're going to laugh when I tell you this. So as I was going through my divorce, I learned that, I learned how to cook because my children would come in for the weekend and they go, we have Friday night dinner. It's a big thing in the Jewish community.
Yeah.
We don't always want to go to grandma's house or to your sisters or to the aunts. So I learned how to cook. And now people want to come to be by my and eat with my food because they know the love that's been put into it. And I love to watch them sit around the table, enjoy each other's company, and enjoy my food.
That is
so
awesome.
Cooking.
Perfect. What's a new or a crazy business idea you would love to pursue if you had time?
Oh, wow. That one's going to throw me. A crazy business idea I would love to pursue. Oh. Yeah, you caught me on that one. I got to think about it a little bit.
That's all right. Yeah, you can email me that.
I've had many crazy ideas in my life. I have to go back and think about which one was really off the wall.
No problem. And last but not least, what's an interesting or fun fact about you that most people don't know?
All right. Back in the 80s, when I was in my 30s, 20s and 30s, I tried out for Jeopardy
Okay.
and I didn't make it.
I was just about to, oh, I was
And what
there.
happened was I didn't make it because they you go to the at the time it wasn't online or anything like that. I happened to be in California in business. I was in a business where I traveled a lot for sales, and I signed up to go try out for Jeopardy in California.
Yeah.
And you
Okay.
sit in the audience of the Jeopardy studio. They
Hmm.
give you a lap board and a test with 50 write-in questions.
Okay.
And if you get 35 questions right, you go to the next level.
Awesome.
I had 32.
Oh my God.
I only
Very,
got
very close.
32 questions.
Uh,
If I got three more, I would have moved forward. Only three people went on to the next level. There was over 100 people. Only three people moved to the next level.
wow. Wow. Great stuff. Martin, thank you so much for joining me and sharing your story. If
Thank
people
you.
want to get in touch with you, people want to learn more about you, what's the best way to do it?
I made this very simple for people, Ash. Connect with Martin.com.
Connectwithmartin.com.
You
Yeah,
can
that's
find out
super
about
cool.
my workshops that I do, what I explain everything that I do in helping people get to the $2 million or the $1 million in 2 years. There's some of the things we talked about here, free downloads of how to work through your emotions and stuff like that. There's a lot of good stuff. My book, so on and so forth. Connectwithmartin.com.
Connectwithmartin.com. Oh, yeah, I can see your picture there,
Yeah, there
laughing
I
and
am. Me
teaching and
laughing
everything.
away.
Yeah, nice, nice. Great. Well, thank you so much, Martin, for joining us today and sharing your inspiring journey and the impactful work you're doing through your services. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on Founders Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Thank you all for tuning into this episode of Founders Podcast. I hope you found our conversation with Martin insightful and inspiring. Go to connectwithmartin.com. Send Martin as many questions you have. I'm sure he'll be happy to help you out with any of your questions. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Stay inspired, stay motivated, and keep building.